Heroes, it is I, your friendly neighborhood Rabbi John Carrier, and we are about to start live streaming the Jew Curious Show. This is a show where people who are curious about Judaism can ask me anything live, and love you to join me on Twitch for that. I know we're simulcasting on YouTube and on Facebook. I can only read one stream at a time. So if you have questions about the High Holy Days, about the holiday we just had, of Tisha B'Av, of anything Jewish at all, Jewish recipes, Jewish jokes, Jewish stereotypes. I love to bust myths about those. So whatever questions you have come to the right place. Whether you're Jewish, not Jewish yet, or just want to understand the Hebrew roots of your own tradition. So we're about to get started. Just going to show you my face to make it fair. I wish I could see your face, but we can't all be winners. We're also testing out some new sound today, so let me know what you think. If it's a little fuzzy, if it sounds okay. Talking over some music right now, might be a little loud. Let me turn that down for you. All right, got some intro music there. So, gonna clear the pipes. Add a little move juice. Folgers. So very glad to see everybody here this morning. Today is Fun Friday, which means it's just like all of our other great Ask Me Anything sessions. And man, when I say anything, people do ask me anything. And there's no question that's going to upset me or embarrass me. If you're, being a troll or being a jerk or just coming on here to, stir up shenanigans about your own personal axe to grind, you may be banhammered. But I don't think that's going to happen because I trust you, hero, to ask your questions. I already see some good friends here. KG Wilcox is in the houses. Hi, everybody. Triggers and Viv. Good morning. Shabbat Shalom. Venus Black 8 says, hey, I don't know if I've seen you here before. Very happy to see you here. So welcome to the Jew Curious Show. We're about to get started, and I can't wait to dive into Mario Odyssey. I am a bit of a video game junkie, so that's what we do on Fun Friday. It's just like any other fun day of the week where you can ask me anything on this channel. On Fun Friday, just to keep it fun, I answer those questions. You can ask me the same kind of questions. I answer them while playing a video game. I like to keep it to family-friendly video games. I'll say ESRB ages 10 and up for people who are worried about cartoon violence. There are some boss battles that happen from time to time, some bunny rabbits that Mario jumps on, but they're okay. Right, they survive. I have it on good authority that no animals were harmed in the making of this video game. So see Christy B in San Bernardino says, I'm awake, putting on a roast for Shabbat. It's a good time for that. Kay Dixie says, wake up Cali, California kids, or wake up call, California kids. Let's see, Triggers and Viv says, I'm learning my Hebrew numbers. Woot woot. Okay. So, just in case you don't know what this is all about, if you are what I call Jew curious, if you're curious about Jewish traditions, the Jewish culture, Jewish people, Jewish law, Jewish recipes, whatever you're curious about, this is a place where I'm just opening myself up to answer whatever questions I can. If I can't answer them, I'm not, I'm not a brainiac or a human encyclopedia. If I can't answer, I'll tell you when I don't know something. I don't. As much fun as it is to just make stuff up. I'm not going to do that here. If I don't know the answer, I'll say, you know what? I'm going to put a pin in that and get back to you. Let's see. We got some great people in here. Christy B says, yay to Triggers and Viv. Maybe you can teach us. All right. So let's go ahead, now that we know each other, now that you know who I am, and I know who some of you are, seeing a bunch of familiar faces here. Always happy to see new faces. Listen, if you want to lurk, that's cool. You do you. That sometimes I learn just by sticking around in the back of the room and paying attention and not weighing in or announcing myself. That's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with. If you wanted to jump in and say, hey, my name's so-and-so and I'm from such and such, we'd be delighted to know that, just because I like to know where people are coming in from. Because most days on this stream, I'll say we are bi-coastal, got some flyovers in there, and I say that being born and bred and raised in flyover states. We're bi-coastal, we are all time zones. Sometimes we get some Alaskans in there as well. I don't know if I've met a Hawaiian yet. Quite possible. And we're also often international, y'all. I've got people coming in from Cyprus and Denmark and places like that. So happy to learn with anybody wherever you're coming from. And if you're curious about Judaism, you are in the right place. I will say, if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, and you want to ask a question there, that's fine. I'm only answering the questions live that come in on Twitch, and that's not because I don't like you, it's just because I'm still working on my equipment here, and I can only follow one chat at a time. However, if you leave a question or a comment on YouTube or on Facebook, I will come in at the end of the broadcast and go through those and answer those just as best as I can. So thanks for being here, everybody. Let's see. So Trigger Sniv today is learning her Hebrew numbers. Everybody's saying, hey, will you teach us? And her answer, don't count on it. I see what you did there. So this is a fun group. If you do want to come out and say hi and tell us where you're coming from, you will not find a nicer group of people to learn with. So that's my studied opinion. I've been hanging out live online for a few months now with some of these folks, and I couldn't come up with a better community to learn with and to introduce to other students, because everybody here takes care of each other. And let's see. I will say, let's turn down this music and turn on the boards. We got the man we call Mario. Here we go. So where are we? We are in the Sand Kingdom. This is Mario Odyssey, everybody. If you haven't played this before, where you been? It's a dope game. So we're going to play a little bit. Now, we've been, last Friday, we were adventuring in the Sand Kingdom. We had one boss battle. I think we chased off Bowser and his cronies. And today, we still need to recover 6 more power moons from the Sand Kingdom in order to fuel our ship, which is the Mario Odyssey, the eponymous Mario Odyssey, or the Odyssey is the name of our ship. So we're in this place. Is it cold? Is it hot? Before it was cold. I'm going to talk to this guy. It's the Hint Toad. Okay. To help out Princess Peach, I'm doing a survey of Power Moon locations. I can help you for 50 coins. I wonder. Maybe I'll find the parrot instead. Do I want to buy a hint? Nah, I think I saw some. I think we're gonna save our coins here. Maybe get some dope swag from the Sand Kingdom. Oh, there's some swag. There's some local currency right there. The triangle. What about boosh? Okay, there's some Day of the Dead type looking folks here. Let's see. Christy B says she's got a roast on for Shabbat. That's my favorite thing to do, is like put something in the crock pot at like 8 or 9 in the morning and just let it slow cook for dinner. Let's see, what did he say? I wasn't paying attention, I was talking. Don't you just love it? The desert is back to normal. Hot, hot, hot. Okay. I'm gonna get up in there. Okay, I missed my opportunity. Woohoo! Let's see if I can get up there too. Alright, no luck up there. Oh, hi, Radio Angel is here with us today. So seriously, especially because lately I've been talking a lot about the high holy days, I want to let y'all know, last year I made a whole series of videos, 31 to be exact, about the Jewish high holidays. Before I talk more about that, let's say, how's the sound today? Can you hear me okay? Let me see. I don't know if you can hear the video game music. Let me put that on for you. Let's see, right there. No, not so much. Okay, got a little mariachi in here. The sound is terrific. All right, cool. I was worried about this. You know, a couple weeks ago I had a mishap with my regular mic system, so I brought in forget what it's called, like an Audiotronics USB mic that I had in the old garage at Reno, and it wasn't sounding as good. So I just decided to turn on the microphone for my webcam to see how that worked. I didn't think it would, be a good sounding mic, but everybody seems to say it sounds fine, so we're going to go with that. Still saving up for a preamp though, because it'll sound even better. So I will say, when I say saving up, there are ways that you can contribute to this channel. I'll go over them briefly. You can subscribe to this channel. It's a nice thing to do. We've got about 20 subscribers so far, I think, which is pretty dope. We've got, I could be wrong about that, but we've got several subscribers. And what that means is if you subscribe to this channel, it's like $5 a month. And it's no contract. You can do month in, month out, whatever. But what that means is when you come to this channel, you don't see like a pre-roll ad before the video. So a lot of times people watch Twitch like, oh, I can't wait to see video games or ask Jewish questions. This is the only channel where you can do that on Twitch, I'm pretty sure. But then there's this big ad, and maybe you don't want to watch that ad. If you're subscribed to this channel, any video that you watch on this channel, no ads. That's a cool thing. The other thing you could do is you can just throw bits. If you don't want to, commit to subscription or whatever, you can buy on Twitch. You can buy these things called bits. Like you give it some money, it gives you some, token currency, and then when I do something cool or if I answer your question, if you feel like it, throw me some bits. It's just you contribute 1 to 1,000 or whatever those bits are, and it's a nice thing. And that some of that money goes to this channel, and then we can do things like buy better microphones and multi. What? Okay, I'm drowning apparently. You could do things like. I'm gonna get it back in there again. I don't know if I've ever gotten down in there. I'm gonna sink. Look around. Is there anything to do in here? No, just lose my breath. But anyway, so those are ways that you can help out this channel, this community that we are building together. But I will say that you don't need to contribute a thing to be a part of this community. We're just happy to have you here. So look, there's a rocket ship of some sort. What the? All right. Enough fooling around. Let's go get some stuff. I'm looking for power moons here. Let's see. It is a little echoey. It's picking up some ambient room noise, but all right. Where might we find some power moons? Not so much in the city. Let's go to the ruins. There's still some ice here. Whoop. That's weird. Stepping on ice. Whoop. All right. This looks like fun. Hey, what's up, dog? Oh, I see. Maybe I throw my hat on it. I forgot that that's what this game is about. Is throwing my hat on stuff. I'm gonna turn off the pretzel rocks here. Thank you, pretzel rocks. Okay. Let's see. I know at some point I get to ride those lions. I guess it's not working right now. Let me just... That's kind of fun. I am already losing at Mario. How does anybody even do that? Get some bling. Oh, I know what to do here. Gotta get the bullet guy to boosh. That's not gonna work. Gonna have to go ride the lightning. Let's see. Recently we were talking about saying Shema prayer twice per day, but is it okay to say more than twice? Thank you for the great question. Let's see. Coming in. Jessica Cohen for 90 says hello from Boca Raton. So I'm getting some questions rolling in. KG Wilcox says, hi, Jessica. So Kate Dixie says, recently we were talking about saying the Shema prayer twice per day, but is it okay to say it more than twice? Absolutely. There are, let's see, just getting confused because I'm being shot at by giant bullets who have mean faces. So in Jewish prayer, statutorily, I mean, by our sort of fixed liturgy established by the people of the Great Assembly back in early rabbinic times, uh, the Shema prayer and the paragraphs that go with it and the blessings that surround it are said twice a day, in the morning service and in the evening service, but not the afternoon service. So that's fixed in those services is the Shema. However, you can say it other times of the day as well. I mean, Shema is just a quotation from the Torah. It's Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Happens to be in this week's Parsha, y'all. This week's Torah portion, Vet Hanan, has the text of the Shema and the V'ahavta in it. And so check that out, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Little plug there. I get no money from the Deuteronomy people. So we say that twice a day as a part of the regular prayer service. Doesn't mean you're not allowed to say it more than that. In fact, because it's words of Torah, you could say words of Torah all day, every day, if you want to, right? It's a good thing. Every time you say it out loud, you're learning Torah. You're teaching Torah to other people who can hear you. It's also accustomed to say it. It's also accustomed for many people to say it at bedtime. So, if you don't go to bed right after the evening services, hopefully you got to have some downtime in the evening. You just chill out. Some people say it the last thing they say before they go to bed. It's like many cultures have prayers that people say before they go to bed. We teach our kids to do this sometimes. And the Shema is that prayer for Jews. We say the Shema as a part of going to bed. So you could say it twice in regular services. You could say it once before you go to bed. And if you're inspired to say it other times, in fact, in the very early morning sort of preparatory prayers in Birchot HaShachar, which is something some people say at home or in the very beginning of the synagogue service, there's a passage that talks about, we are inspired to say twice a day the Shema, and it goes like this, and then it says the Shema. So technically you're saying at least that first line of Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad twice during the morning service, because you're saying it in that preliminary part, and then you're saying it again during Shacharit. So you can say it more than that if you want, and excellent question. We'll throw just this little request out there. If people have questions, and K. Dixie followed this rule, if people have questions, make sure you put a question mark on it, because as I'm scanning the chat while avoiding Bullet Bill here, it's most helpful for me to see question marks to know I'm getting a question. Another question with a question mark. KG Wilcox asks, if I make a blessing on a beverage, then finish it hours later, do I make the blessing again? And so the quick, easy answer is no. You don't bless something twice is the general concept. So if you said a blessing over the beverage and you intended to finish that beverage, however long it takes you to finish that beverage, that beverage is already covered, or rather, the blessing is already covered for that beverage. And just to make it clear that, like, when we say a blessing over food, maybe this is just an English colloquialism, the common thing is, I'm blessing the wine, I'm blessing the bread. And I like to be a nudge about this. You're not technically blessing the bread. You're not changing the status of the bread. You're actually blessing God. Like when we say hamotzi, we're blessing God. We're not changing the quality of the bread. There's no transubstantiation in Judaism, if you will. We're blessing God who gives us bread, right? But that bread, having been used in a blessing, can't be used for the same blessing again. It's called a bracha levatala, a blessing that is unnecessary or a blessing in vain. And the reason we're careful about that, some interpretations of the Ten Commandments where it says don't take God's name in vain, also means don't say it when you don't say God's name when you don't need to, right? So if you said a blessing once on something, you don't need to say a blessing on it again. It's also why I'm careful. Like if we have, let's say it's Friday evening, and we get 2 loaves of challah, and we say a blessing using both loaves of challah, and let's say me and my wife are on a low-carb diet, hypothetically, not really, actually, we may not eat both loaves, right? One may be fully intact. And the temptation out of, saving money or not wasting is to, if we have, let's say Shabbat lunch, and we put 2 loaves out again, to use one of those loaves that we had from the night before. However, if you've already used a loaf of challah in a blessing, you're not supposed to use that same loaf of challah another time for the blessing again, if you could at all avoid it. Now, look, if you're in a situation of poverty and you have no means, otherwise, there's leniency for that. But you really shouldn't use the same thing for a blessing twice. And so, for example, if I'm at the synagogue or if I'm at home and we make a motzi, we say the blessing, we bless God for giving us bread. Even if we're not going to use this second challah, I often will cut it in half just to say, like, this has already been covered and we can't use it again. So let's see. Rabbi Nawa64 says, Rabbi, on the topic of prayers, I know that the requirements are different for men or women. Are there prayer books just for women? What are the minimum and maximum prayers? Well, that is a long topic. Let's see. I'll do the first one. I'm sure people have prepped, or, publishers like to make money on books, so I'm sure people have made a women's prayer book, and sometimes they're prayers that women find inspiring, and so people have provided that for them. So the idea is that women aren't exempt from praying, like everybody should pray. It's that women, in traditional halakha, women are considered to be exempt, not forbidden, but exempt from obligations that are, positive commandments that are bound by time. And this has to do with things like nidah, like if women, if people are following tacharat mishpacha, if women are separating themselves in their household during a time of menstruation, they would be precluded from being in a prayer space. And so I guess the thought at the time, the leniency or the consideration was that, we can't obligate women to pray at a certain time if they're not able to be in that space. And so the thought is that women are exempt, not forbidden, but exempt from doing things at certain times. So women are still supposed to pray, but they don't have the same obligation to pray at set times, right? And other sort of, I'll say, fundamentalist sects of Judaism have used this logic to exclude women from prayer spaces, to separate men and women. That has more to do with the other claim is that if women are praying in the same room or space as a man, he won't be able to contain his lustful thoughts. And I just say, get a hold of yourself, buddy. So women are obligated to say the same prayers that men are. They are, in traditional circles, not considered obligated to pray at the same time as men. And so the prayers are exactly the same. Now, there are some traditional prayers, part of Birchot HaShachar, that in an Orthodox Siddur it might say something like, I thank God for not making me a woman. And that's because, this is men praying, and they're saying, I'm glad I'm not a woman because, well, women's life is hard, for one thing. Also because I couldn't pray, or I wouldn't have as many mitzvot that I'm obligated to do. The conservative movement and anything more liberal than that has sort of stricken that out, saying that's a horrible thing to say. And there's a Orthodox rabbi teacher of mine said, like, the moment his first daughter was born, he couldn't say that prayer anymore. So yes, there are women's siddurim. Women have the exact same, or I'll say women have the same obligation and ability to pray. It's just that in communities that observe a separateness between men and women, women are considered not obligated to pray at the same times as men. So hopefully that's a brief answer to the gender diversity question, or the difference. As far as what are the maximum and minimum, that's a longer discussion because there's different thoughts on that. We should pray. If you're looking for minimums, we should attempt to pray 3 times a day. That it would include, 3 times a day the Amidah, and this is like regular weekday. 3 times a day the Amidah, 2 times a day the Shema, and that sort of thing. That's like the minimum. And if you want to go up from that, you pick up things like the blessings around the Shema. You pick up things like Aleinu, Psukei Zimra, things like that. So my idea is, like, start where you are with what you have, and rather than saying, here's the bar that you have to get or you're not good enough, I'll say start where you are with what you have. Learn how to say the Shema. Learn how to say the Amidah, even if it's not saying like the full text of the Amidah. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan points out that the Amidah was invented as a silent, private meditation, which by definition had no words to it. Only later there were words added for those who didn't have the vocabulary to pray. And so it could just mean 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. You sit quietly, you talk to God like you're talking to a person, or you say whatever's on your heart. If you want to build up some fluency in Jewish traditional prayer, you can start practicing the Amidah one blessing at a time until you get it all. And so rather than telling people like, where to start and where to stop, I would say pick up a Siddur, look through it, as best you can if it's available, attend synagogue services or watch live stream synagogue services, or listen to recordings of synagogue services or recordings of people teaching the prayers, so you start to get the hang of the structure of it and grow from there. Start small. Don't try to overwhelm yourself. I feel like if I tell you the minimum that you need to pray to do it traditionally, that might be overwhelming for you. It was overwhelming for me when I started, and so I started and then I stopped because I'm like, I can't do this. And if I can't do it perfectly, or if I can't do it enough, then I'm just not going to do it. And with things like prayer, with things like all the different rules for Shabbat, with things like the dietary laws, if you want to do it like everybody else does it, or like you think everybody else does it, it can be totally overwhelming. And people get off to a start, and then they get overwhelmed, and then they quit, and then they lose all the personal benefit of doing it. So I say start where you are with what you have. Observe one dietary rule, restrict one activity on Shabbat, learn one prayer really well, and then add to that over time. And so that's my general method that I recommend. Let me look at a couple comments here, then we're going to go back. Trigger Sniv says, duty calls, love to you all. Thank you for being here, Trig. Let's see. K.G. Wilcox says, the separation of men and women, the prohibition of women's study, and tefillin was a deciding factor in my choosing liberal Judaism. I'm going to say, well, I was going to say me too, but like my deciding factor in choosing liberal Judaism was that I was in a family that was in the conservative movement. Later on, when I was sort of challenged, when I was looking at rabbinical school, and my rabbi says, why do you want to be a conservative rabbi? Are you sure you even want to be a conservative Jew? And so he gave me some resources to study the different branches of Judaism. And after I studied Reform Judaism and Orthodox Judaism and Reconstructing Judaism and their different philosophies and approaches to things, I'm like, you know what, I'm good. Like, this actually adheres to how I approach God, how I approach community, how I approach the Torah and Jewish law, and it was exactly right for me. I just lucked into it. But one thing I liked about it was the egalitarian nature of it, and the, let's say, not just the ability for people to put tefillin, but the encouragement, but the not like shaming people for not doing everything the way the rest of the community does. So I'm with you. Let's see if I can catch one of these bullets here. Radio Angel says, yes, it was a factor for me too. I haven't converted yet because there isn't a synagogue within 60 plus miles from here, but it seems like liberal Judaism is more egalitarian. Yes, I think that's by and large true. I'm going to just fly around here for a little bit and see if I can't hit this thing. Boosh! Power Moon! 5 more to go. Yeah, and Nawa64 says, I have found it both challenging and humorous to be a liberal conservative. That's just some bad branding decisions we made about, 100 years ago. That's why I prefer the term masorti, which is Hebrew for traditional. Let's see, how do I get that guy? And I'm going to do some kind of kung fu move here. Nope. Oh, I know what's up. You got to catch a pterodactyl to get those. Yeah, I like the term masorti, which means traditional, because believe it or not, and some people would have you not, that conservative Judaism is a very traditional way of approaching. Well, look at that. That was a kung fu move, to be sure. What I like about the conservative movement, it is somewhat traditional because it acknowledges that people have been open-minded and creative in approaching Judaism throughout their history. Let's see. Can I talk to this guy? Or do I have to get on his head to talk to him? Okay, I want to talk to the Sphinx. Oh. Greetings, traveler, and to your hat as well. Can you answer my riddle? I will sure try. What does the thieving monster desire from the land? He wants a ring. That was easy. Alrighty. Oh, this looks terrifying. But I bet there's a power moon in there. Watch out for that idol. Well, I wasn't praying to. Oh my goodness gracious. Making some bank behind the Sphinx. Come on, what do I do here? Woohoo! Power moon. I don't think I've seen this one before. I will spoil it a little bit. I have played this game, played through the whole campaign, so now I'm just doing it over. But I did it with my kids, and so now I'm just doing it for the Jew Curious audience. If you're just tuning in, little station identification. Welcome to the Jew Curious Show, where I answer whatever questions you have about Judaism. Today I'm doing it while playing Mario Odyssey because it is Fun Friday, y'all. What is this? Do I want to go in there? No, I'm not going to go in there. That's a different place. I don't want to get stuck in there. Let's see. Do I want to go down in there? Or am I going to die? Let's see. Whoop. Here we go. See what happens. I don't know if there's a power moon to be found in here. Let's see. There's lots of coins and stuff. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. Okay. This is a power moon on top of that thing. What is over here? There looks like a helpful muchacho. A secret passage goes up there. It's underground, so they say. Come back here, bird. Let's see if this is advisable. We'll see. Whoodoo! Oh, guess not. Sometimes you just gotta try stuff, even if it's dumb. I see a bunch of coins up there. Ooh. Where can we plant this acorn? Do 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 do. So here on the Jew Curious Show, if you're curious about it, we like to answer questions about Jewish stuff, particularly interested in the high holidays. And I'll say, if you're watching us on Twitch, look down below this video, and there is a link to our new Jewish Fall Holiday Challenge. Now, this is a thing whereby you can get in on the challenge. I'm just going to put this down for right now. You get in on the challenge and go to that link, and there's a couple cool things about this. You get in on the challenge, two things will happen. First off, you will get in your inbox every single day for 31 days a video about the High Holy Days. This is some videos I recorded last year. Challenge, people really liked it, so I'm bringing it back this year. And so you can every day for 31 days, you will get a video about the high holy days and Sukkot, because it's a whole big month of holidays. Doesn't end with Yom Kippur. We've got Sukkot a few days after that. So it starts Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. There's a little bit about Elul and shofar blowing, some Tashlik stuff in there, things about Simchat Torah, which is a fun holiday where we turn the Torah back over after finishing it. And then there's also the least understood holiday, Shmini Atzeret. All these different things you're going to learn about, and you'll get a new video every day teaching you about this stuff. And even though we've started the challenge, you can jump in at any time. It's not like, oh, I missed the first 5 days. Whenever you sign up, you get video number 1, and then the next day you get video number 2, and so on. So you can jump in at any time. There is a time-sensitive aspect of this. Is the second cool thing that's going to happen when you sign up, is if you sign up before September 9th, there is a giveaway. And so, like I did last year, and so there's some people maybe out there who took advantage of this, like I did last year, I'm giving away a starter Jewish library, right? So if you won it last year, you probably don't need this, but it's 6 books that I recommend for, because people ask me all the time, like, I'm just learning about Judaism, what should I read? And I put together a collection of 6 books that I recommend. It's stuff. It's my favorite translation of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. There's a book about the holidays in there. There's a book of recipes. Very critical to living a Jewish life is knowing how to eat Jewish, let's say. There's a book on prayer. There's a few different things. And that's all listed out on the challenge page. You can see that. I'm giving away 3 sets of this Starter Jewish Library for anybody who signs up before September 9th. And then on September 9th, on this show, it's a Monday, live on this show, we're going to do the drawing to see who won. And then I'll get those books, and then I order those books from Amazon and have it sent right out to you. So check that out. Let's see. Nawa64 says, thanks for the printout of all the holidays with that as well. It's on the fridge already. That's another little thing I threw. That was supposed to be a surprise, but that's okay. I'll talk about it. When you sign up, I also send you this PDF that is a couple of pages that list out, let's say, the major Jewish holidays. No Tzom Gedalia in there. Sorry, Tzom Gedalia. But it's got the major Jewish holidays kind of printed out when they are in the coming year, 5780, as it were, or kind of the 2019 to 2020 period, with a description of those holidays, what dates they're on, and how to connect with me and stuff like that. So check that out. So I guess there's 3 cool things that happen. Get a bunch of videos. You get a downloadable guide that you can put up on your fridge if you like, or make paper airplanes. You do you. And then you get into a drawing for a Starter Jewish Library. So love to see anybody and everybody involved in that. So let me see if I can look around and find some more power moons here. Got to keep the fun in Fun Friday. If anybody has a question about Judaism or Jewish stuff, especially the High Holy Days, because that's a lot of holidays in a short period of time, feel free to ask them here. Do me a solid and put a... What is that over there? There's like an oasis I didn't even know about. I'm going to go check that out. There is a... Let's see. I just completely lost my train of thought. I'm sure looks like a power moon up there. And there's a power moon up there. I might have already been there, though. But there's a pterodactyl. There's the pterodactyl. So where do I pick up the pterodactyl? Oh, I got to go down there. All right, let's get out of here. I think that's my next mission. I'm going to get on that power line, zap up to the pterodactyl, and fly down and get me a couple of power moons from there. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, dress like us, party like us. That's what we say anyway. So, hat and clothes, a little local color. Let's see. K Dixie says, looking forward to the challenge videos. Thank you, K Dixie. Do I want to go in here? Why not? Oh, this one. Okay. There's a prize in this party room, but to find it, you have to feel it. Walk around, feel the rumble, let it move you to the prize. Let's see. I'm going to do this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and jump on. Nawa64's question. Rabbi, mentioning Jewish food, kashrut, my husband was having a conversation explaining kosher laws to coworkers over lunch. He told him fins and gills for fish, no bottom feeders. Coworkers asked about bass fish since they eat all sorts of dead things in the water. What's the answer for that? So I'll say as just a minor adjustment, it's fins and scales is the criteria, and I'll say it, let me say it this way: it's not so much the Torah just says fins and scales. It doesn't say why fins and scales. Other people later look at this and say if you're not eating things with fins and scales, you're eating things that are more, let's say, categorically scavengers. But that's not necessarily why. It's just sort of a side benefit, right? It's a side detriment to me because I grew up in the South and I love me some fried catfish, and I can't have fried catfish anymore. I also, when I was visiting China many, many years ago, before I was Jewish, I developed a penchant for eels. So you got to cook them just right, but those aren't allowed either. So it happens that the fish with fins and scales are they are cleaner fish. They're less likely to be scavengers. Yes, I know that bass and other fish will eat all sorts of dead animal matter. But like a catfish, like just about exclusively eats gunk off the bottom. I mean, that's why they've got that face. They eat the gunk off the bottom. So it's not that we have the rules about fins and scales because of we're avoiding scavengers, but it has the effect of avoiding scavengers. Like when you look at the list of acceptable birds to eat, chickens and ducks and stuff like that. Yeah, chickens will eat anything. I was just over at my sister's house in Texas, and she keeps chickens, and so chickens will eat just about anything you put in front of them. Is my understanding. I'm not a chicken, but don't you try to call me one. But for example, when it lists all the birds that you shouldn't eat, it's like eagles and vultures and falcons. And it turns out that the birds that are on the don't eat list are largely either predators or scavengers, like vultures and things like that. And many kinds of owls. It's like really specific about all sorts of different kinds of owls. And also bats. Don't eat bats. And they put that on the bird list because they were like, Bronze Age people. But people have looked at that list and interpreted, even like Maimonides has looked at that list and said, we don't want to eat things, you are what you eat, he says. And let's say if you eat a bird that's a predator, you then develop a predatory nature. If you eat a bird that's a scavenger, you develop a scavenger's nature, right? This was like 1,000 years ago too. So now we know that chickens and ducks and things, they'll eat. It's not that they are vegetarians. Chickens will eat bugs and things that we wouldn't eat. However, that's not really their main diet. So kashrut's kind of tricky for explaining reasons, because as soon as you explain reasons, somebody can give you a counter explanation as to why that's silly. For example, swine. Like Maimonides was like, don't eat a pig, it's a dirty animal. Right? It rolls in its own filth. Well, just about any animal will roll in its own filth if given the opportunity. Some people have said that, they just made that rule because back in the day, without refrigeration, trichinosis was a big problem. They're like parasites that are, I think, exclusive or most commonly found in pork. But now, if that's the reason, we have refrigerators, and we know how to cook pork, and so that rule doesn't make sense, so we're going to stop following it. The essence of kashrut is that it's a hook, right? Laws are sort of divided into two categories, mishpatim and chukim. And mishpatim are the kind of laws that make obvious intuitive sense. Like, these are rules that people would have come up with if we didn't get the Torah. Don't murder, right? Don't mess with other people's relationships. Honor your parents. All wise ways to run a civil society. And then there are the hukim, the rules that seem to make no apparent sense, that we would not have come up with logically on our own, right? Don't eat owls, right? If you're hungry and you see an owl, you're going to eat that owl if you're hungry enough and you can catch them, and and you like to stay up late at night. And so it's not immediately apparent why these things are. Some of it you could just say, this is who we are. This is a tribal marker. People like us do things like this. And some people are satisfied with the answer. I don't want to gender God, but it's sort of akin to, because I'm your father and I said so, right? I don't need to explain to you why you shouldn't play in traffic. And frankly, if you're jumping in front of a car, I don't have time to say why you shouldn't do that. I'm just telling you listen to me, I know what's good for you, and maybe you'll understand when you're older, or maybe you'll understand when you're more spiritually developed or whatever. And so there are all sorts of things in the Torah like that, that as Jews, we consider these requirements, even if we can't explain them logically, and we don't need to explain them logically. Like, these are mitzvot that are given to us, and the benefit of having that kind of emunah, that kind of faith, is that as soon as you try to explain the rule logically to somebody, they're going to be like, well, I can poke holes in that, and that's just inviting, controversy and heresy. Look, I've been talking so much about this. Mario seems to have fallen asleep. So, and I'll say, like, it is somewhat dangerous to just always apply the rule because God said so. Because some people have used that for terrible things as well. I mean, people have used that to kill other people. I mean, like, so I would use that judiciously. But there are certain things that I do as a matter of course that have no reason. The reason I do them is because it's the Jewish way of doing things. Like, I eat the Jewish way of eating. I take rest on Saturday because that's the Jewish way of taking a rest. And I don't need to explain that to anybody. Like, I like to, and people do delve into the reasons behind the mitzvot. And that's praiseworthy, and you actually will learn some things about the mitzvot, about yourself, perhaps. But I wouldn't get too bent on, like, what bass eat, because chickens eat gross things, kosher fish eat gross things, cows, especially with meat packing today, they'll, like, feed, grind up other cows and feed them to cows. That's how the whole mad cow thing started. But think of them as like spiritual discipline. This is if this is your thing. For me, I think a lot of it is like spiritual discipline. I know logically I can eat pork and be fine, but I want to exercise that discipline because when I do, I feel better. I feel stronger, right? I feel like, okay, if I can say no to something small or trivial, it gives me strength to say no down the road when things are actually critically important. Right, it builds moral and spiritual muscle, if you will. That's just my gym rat way of putting it. So let's wake up, Mario. So I'm going to walk around, find. You can't feel this, but I feel my controller buzzing. Oop. Oh, look at that power moon. Woohoo! Let's see. Leave Our Reign says, I'm the person from a couple of weeks back that was adopted by a Jewish family, and one of the reasons they kept strictly kosher is because welcome back, Leave Our Reign, because it helps keep them healthier because they can't rely on fast food and have to make the most of their meals. I love this, and welcome back, by the way. But I have to say, one of the best things is I eat way less fast food than I used to. Right, because fast food is like, wall to wall. In America, so much of fast food is like, first off, it's like meat and cheese together. And I'm not knocking cheeseburgers, man. Those I don't eat. I try not to eat them, but like, actually made. We had some extra non-dairy cheese a few weeks ago, and I made and some beef fry. So I made some like fully kosher bacon cheeseburgers out of my grill. But that's neither here nor there. But a lot of fast food that I used to eat is like burgers and stuff and cheeseburgers. And first off, the meat's not kosher. Second off, meat and cheese together, not kosher. So I ate way less burgers than I used to. I ate way less Taco Bell than I used to. I mean, I was a big fan of Taco Bell. I'll still get like a 7-layer burrito from time to time because I'll eat vegetarian food from non-hechshered places. That's part of my practice, and your mileage may vary. But I eat way less fast food than I used to, and that's a good thing. I don't go to like Old Country Buffet or whatever that is, and just like any place that's like all you can eat, should say all you can eat, but you shouldn't like not. So forget about that stuff. But yeah, that's like when you're keeping kosher, you are much more likely to be cooking your own meals and cooking meals for other people and having people over. And so instead of like going out to restaurants all the time, you can have friends over to your house, and I think that builds like more solid relationships. So thanks for putting. And Kay Dixie says, one rabbi explained mitzvot as a list of God's likes and dislikes. So let's see, you got a power moon of that. 2 down, 3 to go. Whoop, I got a power line all the way to the pyramid. Okay. What? That's what I was looking for in the first place, and I got a power moon on the way to that. Now look a snap. Okay. Now this guy's tricky. All you can eat places are tough. It's hard to find food that doesn't have pork sneaked into it, especially Chinese food. I will say for people trying to keep kosher, a lot of times I've had this experience of going to Chinese restaurants and ordering stuff off the vegetarian menu, and there'll be like shrimp. Like I ordered something that was vegetarian, and I looked at the sauce, and there was like tiny little shrimp in it. I don't know what you call those, if it's plankton or whatever, but it's like you got to be careful. And like when you eat, another just tip for people, if you're really trying to be careful about not eating unkosher meat, and you just want to order soup. I always, if I'm eating soup in a restaurant, I always ask what the stock is made of, because a lot of times they'll have like a vegetable soup, but it's cooked in chicken stock or beef stock or something like that. So be careful with that. Like especially, I love grilled cheese sandwiches and cream of tomato soup. Right, magnifique. I know it's kind of basic, but it's good. You just got to be careful they're not putting a little animal stock in there for flavor. So, whoop. Okay, so I'm on this thing. Hold B to glide. Woohoo! Yeah, they add pork to some burgers for flavor too. That's true. Let's see. Also, if you're what we call ingredient kosher. Let's see. There's another moon over there. Oh, so close. Okay. Out of there. How do I get on that guy? Okay, just 2 power moons to go. Levarine says our nearest kosher kosher restaurant to us is actually an Indian buffet, funnily enough. So that's a thing. Like you can find vegetarian Indian places, and different. And I'm not an expert in Indian religion, but different religions within India are strictly vegetarian, and so you can count on that food to not be. And you should ask, like, you could ask, and they'd be happy to answer you. But like people of the Jain religion, for example, are vegetarian, I believe, and so you can count on that being okay. I don't know if I've been here before. This little oasis, I have not. Okay, so I'm going to go get a little bit of coinage. Coin. Coin, come on, coin. Okay, we're going to swim out of here. Get a little, hey, what's up, guy? Hey, can I get in on that a little bit? I feel like I need to talk to that guy, but he's not. Talk. Nope. All right. Let's see. Speaker AJ says, I have some good news to share. Barring any scheduling difficulties, I will be converting at the end of the month. Doop! Hey, Andrew. So glad to hear that, buddy. Mazel tov. I know this is a significant step for folks, and good on you. I know there's a lot of learning involved. Whoa! Hey, just found a power moon out of nowhere. I think Speaker AJ is passing some of his mazel on here. So that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's always good. Sienna 51 says Mazel Tov. Everybody's Mazel Tov all around with Speaker AJ. So richly deserved. Okay, got all that. So I just need one more power moon, then I can get out of this deserty place. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So I see a power moon on top of that pyramid up there. I just don't know how to get there. Oh. All right. See, I told you this is a nice place to hang out. Everybody's just giving Speaker AJ props for a big step in his life. This guy says, "How you doing? I'm what you call a jacksie. Okay, maybe a Jaguar taxi. If you want to ride, it'll be 30 coins. What do you say? Let's ride." You got to check out the inverted pyramid. Let's do that. Controls or a snap? Uh, Brake and dismount. Okay. I'll take off as soon as you're strapped in, but watch yourself. I go quick. Okay. Okay. Going for the inverted pyramid. Oh, that's going to be a little bit hard to hit. Okay, whoa, okay. That did not go as I wanted it to. Let's see. Speaker Radio says, just in time for Elul and the high holidays. That's the Elul for people want to know is the month before Rosh Hashanah. That's sort of a spiritual preparatory time. Got a couple of videos about that in our Jewish Fall Holiday Challenge. So click below this video if you're on Twitch to sign up for that. But Elul, just in time for Elul and the spiritual preparation thereof. And Nawa64 says, on the topic of conversion, how does that work for us that are geographically challenged as far as shuls go? So that is a big topic and something that I talk to my colleagues and mentors about a lot, because especially because I'm working with a lot of people who do not live close to a synagogue. Just do a little catch up over here. The thing is, it really helps to have some kind of Jewish community. And I've had rabbis tell me, like, look, it's not cool to teach people about Judaism who don't live close to other Jews because they're going to be Jewish but to have no community to be in. And I'm sensitive to that because I think it is awesome to have a community of people around you. I've also had the experience here and elsewhere that online communities can be real communities. Can you do all the same things as if you were in the same town or building as other people? Not necessarily, but you can do different things that they can't. Like people can connect with each other across the globe in either real time or asynchronously, and you can get to know people from all over the place who are just like you, in the same situation as you. I mean, if we had 10 people from around the world who weren't close to synagogue, but they could connect with each other, then before they had, each one of them had no community, now they have, community. And there are questions about whether, you can make a minion over Zoom and things like that. That's for other rabbis to debate. But I will say, if you're not close to to a community, it's hard to convert, right? You need a mikveh, or you need to do mikveh. You can use natural, if you're not close to a Jewish community, you're probably not close to, let's say, a constructed mikveh. And to convert, you do need a beit din. You do need 3 rabbis to talk to you and see if this is the right move for you. You do need to immerse in a mikveh with 2 witnesses. And if you're not close to a Jewish community, you can't really do that. Like, you can use a non-constructed mikveh. You could use a natural body of water, like a river or the ocean or something like that. But you still need 2 witnesses who know what they're doing to witness that conversion. When I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, there was no community mikveh, but when people in that community converted, somebody in my shul had a house that that fronted by the Tennessee River, and they had basically like a rope swing that hung down, so that if somebody needed to mikveh, they could get on that little rope swing and go down into the Tennessee River and not like get swept away. So there are ways around it, but let's see. Somebody says cut out adverbs. I don't know if that's me. That's something else. But anyway, to go back to this question, you might have to travel, right? You do need a beit din. Most rabbis I talk to say that beit din needs to be like in the same physical space as you. I have heard of somebody who converted after learning with an online program, and it was an elderly woman who lived in remote Australia, right? No rabbis within hundreds of miles of her. And in that case, there were a few rabbis who made an exception and said, we'll get together over Skype or Zoom or something like that. And will do this. I mean, this is a lady who was like 81 or like 90 years old. Um, this was her one way of being Jewish, and there may be exceptions and things like that, but most rabbis I talk to, unless there's some really out there exception that's needed, won't do that. And these rabbis who were on that Beit Din, I know some of them, and they're like, I won't normally do that, but for this person in this extreme circumstance, I would. And so everything is sort of a case by case basis. If it's at all possible, what I suggest people do if you're in a remote location, find a place that you can go. And look, I know that's expensive. I know that's taking time out of your schedule. It's not easy. But being Jewish isn't easy, and converting to Judaism, it isn't just like changing a magazine subscription or something. It's like this is a lifelong commitment, not just to God and to you, but to a whole people, who become responsible for you as one of our own. And so, if you're serious about being Jewish, and it may take years, it may take saving up, it may take asking people for help financially, but you need to get to a place where rabbis are and where mikvah is, if it is at all remotely possible. And so, if you want to be Jewish, and you want to do it the way our tradition sort of portends, you can't just wake up one morning and say, I'm Jewish, I feel Jewish. Shema, I agree with that. That's not how we're not like a people strictly of creed. But if you want to convert to Judaism the traditional way, you need to find three rabbis. You need to find some sort of mikveh and witnesses for that. And once you do, you'll be accepted in the Jewish community because you're doing it the traditional way. So that's probably more than you asked. But but Nawa 64 says we have other shuls and various other Jewish denominations that have rabbis once a month or student rabbi. We can drive to a mikveh and a beit din, but not close enough to attend classes. So that's kind of why I'm teaching how I teach in the Jew Curious School. It's not we have in the Jew Curious School, and you can find out more about that on this page. We have a full Intro to Judaism curriculum. What I'm very explicit about, I want to be explicit about here, and I'm very explicit about on the site, is that this is not an online conversion program in the sense that, I've seen programs out there that, watch 10 videos, click the button, print out your I'm Jewish Now certificate. If that's how you want to connect with the community, there will be people who accept that. Most communities don't. And I always say, convert with the rabbis of the community that you want to be a part of. But in the Jew Curious School, what it is 26 lessons that cover all the topics. And I took an Intro to Judaism class myself about 20 years ago. I sat with through another class with my wife, and now I've been teaching a physical class here in LA for about 5 years now. And from those different things, I thought, okay, if I was going to write a curriculum myself from scratch, what would it look like? And so I put these 26 lessons together, but I'm really clear that this is the learning piece, because before you convert, you have to learn. And so this is the learning piece, but once you do all this learning, that's what you need to know in order to convert, but then you also have to find a mikveh and a beit din. So within the Jew Curious School, you can take those classes, and that way you don't have to drive to a place every week. And it's also even for people in cities where there are classes. I know nurses who have ridiculous hours and things like that. So it might be for people who do live close to a school, but that school's hours aren't convenient for them. So it'll give you the educational grounding, and then you find a rabbi who will sponsor you, and that rabbi will ask you, did you learn about this? Did you learn about this? Did you learn about this? And you say yes, and okay, then you're ready for the Beit Din maybe. That's a conversation with you and your sponsor. So you can take classes online and then make that one big trip. Once you and your sponsor agree that you're ready, then you make that one big trip into town for the mikveh and the Beit Din. So let's see. We've got a girl named Sig. Nice to see you here. So yeah, I'm probably going to have to set up a GoFundMe or something at some point for it. That is the expense for mikveh and things like that. A girl named Sig says, when I lived in Japan, I visited a synagogue that had partially sunken into the ocean that was exclusively used for conversion, and people from Polynesia and Oceania would use it because it was the closest. So I guess that's you walk down the regular steps, but now boom, you're in the ocean. It's sort of like a natural occurrence mikveh. That's incredible. Let's see. A girl named It's in northern Hokkaido. I can't remember what town, but the closest town of note was Otaru. So that's really cool. Like I've never been to Japan. I've been to China for a couple of weeks, like 24 years ago. I've been to Nepal and Singapore and a couple places like that. Haven't been to Japan, but now I know if ever I get to go to Japan, and I am a sushi fan, that I will be checking out this sunken synagogue. That sounds super cool. Okay. Press and hold Y, and then step on the cap to jump on it. And step on the cap to do a cap jump. Whoa, okay, this is a Mario skill I've never known before. Okay, let's try this. So, I guess the trick is to do this. Woohoo! This is like a flounder. Is there something above me that I'm not seeing? It's like a... like a sandfish? What's going on here? Okay. There's no winning that game. Let's just get out of here. We just have to get one more power moon. Then we're done for the day. Girl named Sig says, it was fine if the tide was low, but if the tide was high, you couldn't even walk in. An earthquake made the coastline sink 70 years ago, apparently. That is fascinating. I've never seen a sunken synagogue before. Okay. But I'll see if I can find that tiger guy again. Or maybe I have enough... Maybe I have enough gelt here to go buy some local clothing and get into that other place. All right, it's time to play dress up here. All right, let's see. Find some local clothes. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, if I get a sombrero. Change now. So if I get a sombrero and a poncho, then I can go in that secret place and maybe get my last power moon. Girl named Sig says, I was so confused when I saw it, for one, that it was even there, and for two, that it was seemingly built in the ocean, which is an odd spot for any kind of building. True that. Okay. Do I have enough? Nah, I don't have enough for anything else. Change now. Okay. Mario is looking sharp. Boop 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 boo doo doo. Doo 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 doo. Oh, I've never done that boot move before. The crouch in. Learning all sorts of things. Let's see. Elvella Piano Girl says, hey, I'm new here. Welcome, Elvella Piano Girl. Glad to have you. Feel free to ask any questions you want or just hang out. Be cool to know where you're coming from. if you feel like it. Speaker AJ says, the great shofar of work calls out to me from the other side of campus. Must go. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And Mrs. Bob Ross. Shabbat Shalom, Mrs. Bob Ross. Seen you here before. Please call me Elvella, y'all. All right, Elvella. Will do. Dress up like us, party like us. So snappy hat, check. Snazzy poncho, double check. You are ready to party. Head inside. Okay. Hope there's a power moon involved here. Let's see, if you're just joining us, this is the Jew Curious. So Mario Mariachi going on. Yep. There we go. Power moon, power moon. Get that power moon. Now we're going to zap back to the Odyssey and go on to someplace else. I know it seems like we're just having fun playing Mario Brothers, but we are in fact answering some good Jewish questions. Like, what questions have we had? So I got like a pencil here that I was going to write down all the great questions. We had stuff about kashrut and its justifications, reasons, women in prayer. That was a great question there. You guys can help me remember if you said it without me scrolling up and down. We talked about how to convert if you don't live close. I just want to, because last time I didn't make note, and we talked about so many great things. I'd like to maybe put it in the text of the video so people can find it on YouTube later. How to convert if not close. So as I think of more, women in prayer. There's a great question there. So feel free to keep asking questions. I will say, if you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, I'm only monitoring the live chat on Twitch and answering questions live here. However, and there's a link to that wherever you're finding this video. However, I will go back into Facebook and YouTube at the end of this broadcast and go through any questions that were left there. So let's see. Radio Angel says, that's pretty awesome. The girl named Sig. I kind of want to visit Japan now just to see it. Maybe someday in the future. Oh, thank you, KG. Sometimes I miss questions. Michael Pacheco 92 had a question. My rabbi asked me to write my personal 100-word theology. Any advice on articulating something so intense in a concise manner? And I did see that. Now it makes sense. I saw some advice up there. Cut the adverbs, right? It's challenging, and there's when I teach the Miller Introduction to Judaism program here in LA, I've taught it in Pasadena and in Burbank and in Bel Air, where the AJU is. There is a section when we talk about God that has a 100-word theology from many different rabbis and teachers' points of view. And in that class, when I teach that class, I say, now it's your turn. See if you can write your 100-word theology. But it does challenge you to like really boil it down to the most essential aspects, right? Just so maybe you don't aim for 100-word theology. It's just to say like, God is blank. God does blank. My relationship to God is blankety blank. And try that and then see if you can kind of pare it down to the most essential aspects. Because that's all theology is like talking about God. It literally means like God words, like talking about God. And so just talk about like what you believe about the nature. And people have written like volumes on this, so it's hard to boil it down. But it's just you. Like, what do you think? First response. Put like a timer on. My wife and I did an exercise last night where we did some goal setting, and I'll tell you about that in a second because it was fascinating, and the outcomes are very fascinating. But just try to set a timer for 5 minutes and free write. Like, okay, God is, and then go for 5 minutes, and that you'll probably come right around the 100-word mark. But that'll really push you to like, don't think about it too much. Just write down what comes to mind. And if it's not capturing exactly what you want to say, at least it'll prime the pump. At least it'll make you think about it. So that's what I would do. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Start with the phrase, God is, and then go. and then take a look at it afterwards, and maybe think, I don't know if I really think that, or I want to adjust this, or maybe this is important, but this is less important, and that'll hopefully help get you started. Let's see. Radio Angel says that's a lot like an elevator pitch. If you look at it online, they might have tips to help. Right? It's like, the elevator pitch for Hashem. I love it. Elvela says sounds like an interesting spiritual, intellectual, emotional exercise. It is, and I'll report. I don't know if I've actually sat down. Like I'm not a great teacher. Like I should have done my own homework. I don't know if I've ever actually sat down to do that. I think I did maybe years ago. But whenever I do that in the class, people love it. Like they hate it at first. They're like, "Oh, this is so hard," but afterwards, some people are just moved to tears, or some people are just like, "That was like I didn't expect that to be as profound as it was." So I highly recommend it. I don't assign a lot of homework on this show, but I will say, if somebody wants something to do, get ready for Shabbat. Spend 5 minutes. Set the timer. Egg timer, little dingy bell. Set your phone timer, 5 minutes, God is, and just write it down and see what you come up with. I'd be really curious to see how that turns out. Triggers and Biv says, I would think it would change daily. That's okay. I don't think you're wrong. I think that's amazing. And it will change over the course of your life, certainly. If not daily, perhaps daily, but if not daily, over the course of your life. Like, God is very different to me now than when I was, going to Methodist Sunday school 30 years ago or 32 years ago, right? God is very different than from when I was a child to God, when I was in college. I was pretty sure God didn't exist and talking about it was silly. and then after I saw a couple of kids being born, I had a very different idea. Like even when kids were coming along, I'm like, I had one of those kind of like conditional prayers, right? God, I don't know if you're there, but if you are, you can really use some help right about now. You can make him a handful. You can make him crazy. You can make him whatever. Just let him be okay. Just like have the right number of valves in his heart. You want to keep a couple of toes, that's fine, but have the right number of valves in his heart. Have him be healthy, and I'll take it from there. And that was probably the closest thing I did to a prayer, maybe the first real prayer I ever prayed. Years later, my relationship with God evolved, and it even evolved more, I'll say, between going to rabbinical school and during and after, and even now. I think about God very differently than I did, 5, 10, certainly 15 years ago. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay. It's like, take a snapshot. Like, take a snapshot of where you are right now. Might be fun to look at a year from now. Maybe do it every Rosh Hashanah and see how it changes over time. So Alella says, I already know it'll be profound for me just because I'm trying to get out of a religiously abusive home and community, and I'm constantly on the edge of insanity. I am so sorry. But that's just me. So first off, I want to acknowledge your individuality, and I also want to say it is not just you. A lot of people are in that situation, and I found, I'm not you. I'm not in your situation, but I found the tradition I was born into and brought up into, and especially more fundamentalist expressions of that, not in my family but in my community, to be just untenable, to the point of just wrong. Like that was my impression. I'm not knocking any other faith. My impression of how people observe their faith where I lived was like, I just said, this is not for me, and just went away from faith entirely until later on, as an adult with, a wife and 2 kids and a Jewish community, learning from other rabbis, reading, other wisdom, I began to find a way that I could connect with God that was totally different from what I'd been brought up with, and yet totally worked, right? I found a God that I could believe in. And now, in hindsight, I look and I'm like, that's the same God that everybody else is talking to and about. I just found, let's say, the facet that allows me to connect. And so that's what's crazy, is people can talk about God all different ways individually, and yet still be talking about the same God, because God is big enough to hold that. And so I really have to say, just pause and say props to this community. Everybody's jumping in. KG Wilcox sending support. Elvella, prayers of support from Nawas. Mrs. Bob Ross, Elvella hugs to you. That's what I'm talking about. This is like the most wonderful learning community I've ever been a part of. So, and I mean, I'm not knocking on other communities. Like I've been in a couple of synagogues, but I just have to say, you can't see me beating my chest. It's I know it's overwhelming to think about this community that we put together on this stream, on YouTube, in the Jew Curious School, how kind everyone is to each other. Radio Angel says, when I started learning with a rabbi online before, my mom let it slip at church and I basically got shunned and lost my friends. They thought I was a lost soul, etc. It was hard. And it's like, you got to ask if like your friends are going to trade you like that. I don't know. This is harsh and this is your personal experience I'm talking about. But, you know, are they your friends if they just don't accept you anymore? Mrs. Bob Ross says, that's what I'm afraid of when looking for a place to worship. This is real talk, y'all, and glad we found each other. And I say that having, you know, come from a place like that. No, not at all. She says, "Oh my goodness, didn't mean to bring everybody down. I'm so sorry. Forget about it. We're here for you." It's only by crying a little that we get to laugh again later. Sometimes, as my wife says, sometimes you just need to cut an onion. Like sometimes we get really upset about things, and it's like you get so upset, you get your head lost in it so much that you're like, I feel like I should probably cry, but I can't. I'm just too mad, or something like that, or I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to bring people down. And then you're cooking, you're making chili or whatever it is, or spaghetti sauce. These are things I use onions for. And you cut that onion, and the tears start to come because of the onion. But then it's like, oh, I'm thinking about my life now, and then it all comes out. So sometimes when Cara and I get frustrated, we're like, I think somebody needs to cut an onion, and we'll just start cooking, and then it comes out, and you feel better. All right, we powered up the Odyssey. So, Avella, if you want to cut an onion, you can always cut an onion here on the Jew Curious show. Let's see. We've hit a proverbial fork in the road. What do we want to do to? I'll take a vote. Which kingdom do we think Bowser went to? The Lake Kingdom or the Wooded Kingdom? So, Kate Dixie says, Radio Angel sending you supportive hugs. All right. Thank you for taking care of each other here, people. I really appreciate that. I will say, right now, I need you to help me make a choice. Do we go to the Lake Kingdom or the Wooded Kingdom? The Lake Kingdom is obviously filled with water. The Wooded Kingdom is filled with wood. Alvela says, I like the sound of the Lake Kingdoms. Any other thoughts? Or we're just going to go with the first choice here? All right, let's do that. Lake Kingdom, we got 2 for the Lake Kingdom. That's enough for me. Got 2 witnesses here. Lake. All right, we're down. Lake Kingdom, let's check it out. A splendid idea. I think so too. All right, if you're just joining us, this is the Jew Curious Show. Not the Mario Odyssey show, but on the Jew Curious Show, we have what I call Fun Friday. And on Fun Friday, I will answer the exact same kinds of questions, anything you're curious about Judaism, but I will do it while playing a family-friendly video game. Let's see. Mrs. Bob Ross says, I was advised to reach out to somewhere that is a bit too strict, and my feelings are along what you have explained, Rabbi. So there's all sorts of different Jewish communities, right? And I'll say there's some places that are too liberal for some folks, and there's some places that are too strict for some folks. For me, and I'm just talking for me, the Masorti or the conservative movement is, Goldilocks. It is just right. It's not right for everybody, but it's right for me. And I say to people, like, if you can, shul shop. It's a very Jewish thing to do. It's like go to different synagogues, try on different things, find a community that you connect with, find a teacher that you connect with. And sometimes it's hard, especially in more remote areas. There might be just, if you have any game in town, there might just be one game in town. And often, when there's only one game in town, not always, but sometimes it is sort of the most fundamentalist expression of Judaism, which actually represents a very, very small percentage of the overall Jewish population. And it's also the people who are willing to get out front and tell you most forcefully, this is the only right way to be Jewish. Every other way is bogus. This is the right way. And what I like about the conservative movement, it's like there's never been just one way to be Jewish. One of my Orthodox teachers, Rabbi Brad Hirschfield, says there's about as many different ways to be Jewish and do Jewish as there are Jewish people doing it. Right? He found the path, and he's Orthodox. He found the path that works for him. But he teaches all kinds of different Jews and learns from all kinds of different Jews. And so, if you're finding a place that's not right for you, try another place. If you only have one place in town and that place isn't right for you, look online, look at different communities. I'm not saying you have to move, but I am saying and this also goes back to the question of people who aren't close to a synagogue at all. Look, you don't have to move to be Jewish. It is nice to be a part of community. And I said there were some rabbis who told me it's not right to teach people about Judaism if they don't live close to a Jewish community because they're just going to suffer for not having had that community. My philosophy is I would rather teach somebody in a remote area all they want to know about Judaism so that, not to make a move, but so that someday in the future, maybe they get a chance to travel to a city that has a synagogue and they walk into that synagogue and they're already going to know what's going on to a certain extent. Right? Or maybe their work moves them to a new location that has a bunch of synagogues. And so I would rather have people understand about Judaism, and if, B'ezrat Hashem, if it's like God's will with God's help, someday you can put that into play with a community close to you. But I think there are lots of resources online. Now, most of those resources are also of the fundamentalist bent, but that's why I teach here when I can. So let's see. Let's see. So Elvela is asking me for Jewish word explanations, and people are jumping right in. Don't worry, Elvela. Remember, we are all in your shoes. Ask questions. We're here to hold your hand. And the more frustrated you get, means you have passion. It means it's important to you. That's how I like to put it. Don't let it get to you. Mikveh is a ritual pool that converts dunk in. Not just used for conversion, by the way. You can use it for all sorts of different reasons. Spiritual purification. Some people like to go in before surgery. Some people like to go in right after surgery. Different. Sometimes people who are getting married at any age. People who are getting married will go to the mikveh, separately. But people will, before they get married, will go to the mikveh as a kind of, marking a period of transition. So lots of reasons to do mikveh. But it's instrumental in conversion to Judaism as well. Mrs. Barbara says, "What's the difference between mikveh mikveh and mitzvot?" Let's see. Well, mikveh and mitzvot. Yeah, mikveh is singular, one mikveh, and then mikveh. If you got two of them, first off, bless you. It's great to have two in one place. It's the plural of the same verb, or the plural of the same noun. Woman's reasons, that's also one of the reasons people go to a mikveh. So, get back into the game here for a second. He kidnapped Tiara, and now with his binding band, he's got the wedding ring. Is he going to steal the whole wedding? So we're going to the Lake Kingdom. After throwing your cap, okay. Okay, we've done that. Yeah, mikveh, M-I-K. Some people spell it with like an eh instead of an ah. Mikveh, I think is more grammatically correct. Sometimes I would just say mikveh because I'm lazy. It's sort of an like a schwa sound. How do you steal a wedding? Let's see. I may have misunderstood your question. So Avella says, so like a Jewish version of baptism. I'm going to say a baptism is a Christian version of mikveh. It's sort of flip it because, what John the Baptist was doing is he was, this was like before he even met Jesus, he was not converting people to Christianity. He was immersing people for spiritual reasons, maybe even for conversion to Judaism, I don't know. But baptism comes from, the pre-existing practice of immersion in water for spiritual purification. That goes back into, there's a lot of places in the Torah, especially around Leviticus, where it's talking about how priests behave and how priests purify themselves after coming into contact with impurity. Priests would immerse themselves in the mikveh. And so when we, not for hygienic reasons, but for like a spiritual transformation, if you will. And so John the Baptist kind of got that for from his Jewish background, presumably. Let's see. Yeah, we're people. I'll shut up because people in the chat are doing a great job of explaining some very important Jewish words like mikvah and mitzvah and what's the difference between those things. A little bit of move juice here. All right, now, just for station identification, you are watching the Jew Curious show. This is a show where people can ask whatever questions you have about Judaism, whether you're Jewish, not Jewish, not Jewish yet, or just plain Jew Curious. Feel free to ask them here, and I will say go ahead and throw your questions in here. Looks like other people here are doing great jobs of answering them. That's the other reason why I love this learning community is because people are so smart. There's my South Boston creeping in there. That monster's minions just stomped in here uninvited. Okay, looks like we have a boss battle coming up. Yes, bar means boy. It's Aramaic for ben, and bat means girl. Hebrew has both masculine and feminine forms like Spanish and most other languages. Truth. You guys are doing a great job. I don't even need... I'm just going to play video games for a little while. Mrs. Bob Ross says, "How was your first time spiritually in the mikveh for you?" It was pretty dope. It was fascinating. The first time I ever did it was I haven't been in the mikveh a lot. 3 times maybe total. Like when I converted, I did mikveh. When I was ordained, like the morning before my graduation or ordination from rabbinical school. A couple of buddies and I went down to the Pacific. I'm going to confess to a crime here. A couple of buddies and I went down to the Pacific Ocean at dawn and did mikveh there. Not a Jewish crime, but you have to separate yourself from your bathing suit for a bit. So I don't know if I could have gotten a ticket. That's why we did it at dawn, so it was harder to see. But you can do it. And man, let me just say, the Pacific Ocean in May, not recommended. It's very cold. Some other classmates of ours went a little bit later, and one dude got caught in a rip current, almost didn't make it to graduation, but he's fine now, and he's a very successful and learned rabbi. So, and then the third time I did it, when I was at a synagogue for 4 years, and left that synagogue to focus on teaching online, but just to mark that transition, I went in the mikveh, and it was probably the most powerful of all 3 of those experiences. I'll say, 4 times. I did it in the Kinneret. I did it in the Lake Kinneret is also known as the Sea of Galilee in other texts. So did it one just because we were out swimming in the Kinneret one day, and one of the guys was like, "Hey, we can do mikveh. Hold my suit." And so we kind of took turns doing mikveh in the Sea of Galilee. Let's see. I just want to throw in a correction. So, son, daughter of the commandment that's sort of a very literal translation. My favorite translation of bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah is legal majority, meaning in Hebrew, when you say somebody is such and such years old, you say, so and so is ben shalosh, meaning it sounds like a son of 3, but it means he's 3 years old, right? So bar or bat could also mean like age. Like a son of 25, like I'm Ben Arbaim B'Shalosh, like I'm 43 years old, so but I'm not a son of 43. I'm a person who's reached the age of 43, and so it really means like the age of mitzvah or the age of responsibility for the commandments. And I guess the American legal term would be, or the English legal term would be, legal majority. The difference is, before your bar mitzvah, you're not responsible, let's say capitally, for the commandments. Once you reach 13 for boys, 12 for girls, you become then liable for the commandments. So, Nawa 64 says, better than the Dead Sea. That's true. Although you really can, I would challenge anybody. First off, you don't want to be putting your face in the Dead Sea. Because if that stuff it's very salty. If that stuff gets in your eyes, you will not be able to see for a little while. It's also nearly impossible to submerge yourself in the Dead Sea. There's such buoyancy. Like when I went, I've only been once. But just walking into the Dead Sea is difficult. Like as soon as you put your feet in the water, your feet want to go up like this. And so you just kind of wade in, and then you right at the edge, you just lie on your back because it's so buoyant that you can't even walk in it. That was my experience. So, so it's I would say it's I'm sure somebody could figure it out, but don't go doing mikveh in the Dead Sea. First off, you're not going to be able to submerge, and if you did, and you get any of that water in your eyes or in your mouth, it could be very dangerous for you. So let's see. Now we're in the Lake Kingdom. We're going to go looking around for a dress for a little bit. Apparently, the Lock Lady dress is just to bring you up to speed. Bowser has kidnapped Princess Peach and is looking for all sorts of things to have a wedding with her. Let's see. Still in my Serapi. Whee! If you're looking for the water plaza, the way in is right behind me. Okay. Don't mind if I do. All right then. Let's see. Now I'm down here. That's how I get out. How do I get in? Okay. I was about to type something, but I don't want to do that while I'm trying to swim. So I want to just throw a link for people in the chat. Do people go to the mikveh before their wedding? Yes, that's a very common practice. We just type something in. Let's see. I don't know if you can hear the Mario music. I'm going to turn up the Mario music a little bit. So just I want for people to check this out. If you haven't seen it already, you don't have to sign up if it's not for you. But I want to... Nope. I want to share with you a link, carrier.com/fall. So if anybody's interested in joining us for our fall holiday challenge, that's the right link to go to. And that way, I'm just going to just tell you real quick, if you haven't heard about this yet, so many people jumped into this last time. We talked about it on Monday, and a whole bunch of people signed up. We've already had 50 people sign up for it, which is kind of cool. Given that like a lot of people who are on this channel saw it last year, but we still had a lot of new people sign up. I'm getting froggy. But what it is you go to this page. There's a place to put in your email address. Once you do, you get three things. First off, right away you get a printable guide to the major Jewish holidays and when they are in the coming year. Then, every day for 31 days after that, you get a new video about the Jewish fall holidays. And the third thing is, if you sign up before September 9th, you are automagically enrolled in this giveaway that on September 9th, on this very show, I'm going to do a live drawing for this giveaway, an opportunity drawing, that I'm giving away 3 sets of starter Jewish libraries. So that's a Tanakh, it's a cookbook, it's a book about the holidays, a book about prayer, some other things. So check that out. So he said, KG Wilcox, who's already seen, I guess, the shofar video, says, I enjoyed your shofar lesson. Smells rammy. You'll have to watch the video to find that out. Now I'm going to annoy my housemates with mine. Yeah, mine doesn't smell rammy, but I've smelled some shofars that smelled like this was on a sheep yesterday. Oh my goodness. Mrs. Bob Ross says, how does one connect with, for lack of a better term, a spiritual sponsor if you are not local yet with somebody to speak with on the phone? So I think online is a good place to go. You know, there's a lot of people that I talk with almost... Man, I think I must have swallowed a tooth. Hold on. I get a little dehydrated after talking for 2 hours. Oops, I need to get back up here. Oh, I need to find a bubble. Okay. So I'm getting some local currency here. Need to get some air. Get some air, get some air, get some air. Okay, that feels better. Nawa64, I'm new to the Jew Curious School. Are there tests or just completing the studies? Rabbi, is there a final for the Jew Curious School? Maybe that one essay on God? No, for most classes, all you have to do is show up. I mean, it's sort of like a lecture thing, and you can participate in live discussions. It's more of a seminar, or it's more of a lecture, I guess, if you're watching the recorded videos, which we have like 100 different, I think approximately 100 different video lessons in there already. The only assignment I give is for people who are taking the Introduction to Judaism class. At the end of each lesson, there is a link to a quiz. And that's kind of my way of taking attendance, is there's like a little quiz. It's not a hard quiz. It's more of an exercise for you to review to see what you learned, and a way to reach out to me if there's something you didn't understand. But it's also for the sake of people who want to convert and seek me out as a sponsor for that. I like to make sure that's my way of telling that people have attended the class. And it's just like, because my experience in teaching a physical class, like we don't have a test there either, but we do take attendance. And so for me, I have a little way to kind of take attendance if people fill out that quiz survey. Oh, look at that. There's a gold coin with an air bubble around it, so it gets a little air there. I forgot I had to breathe in this game. Let's see. Okay, this looks... Oh, just stay away from that guy. And his buddy. Oh, stay away from that guy. I only have one thing left. Okay. Ooh, that's helpful. So you guys are just going to hang out there then? Is that how this goes? Okay, can't follow me up here. Oh, look, and the fish don't have to breathe either. That's cool. KG Wilcox says, "Can you say something about the God dash? One of my pet peeves." So I won't. I'll say it's one of mine too. But I don't fault anybody for using it. So some people write the word God with a dash in it. This goes to kind of a very old... Oh, I don't think I've ever seen this part before. That's why I love playing with you guys, is I'm seeing stuff I've never seen before here. So there's a tradition of, well, comes from the commandments of not taking God's name in vain. How do I dive? Okay. Got a power moon. We have a tradition of not taking God's name lightly, and that includes also not desecrating God's name by destroying any piece of paper that God's name is written on in an undue fashion. So it's just kind of hard to explain and play Mario at the same time. So I'll just take a break from the Mario. So when we have a piece of paper that has one of a few different versions of God's name written on it, we're very careful with that piece of paper. And that way we don't throw that piece of paper in the garbage. Might get some schmutz on it, and then people think, oh, you're putting schmutz on God's name. That's terrible. Also, if you throw it away in the trash in a normal fashion, it might get incinerated, depending on how different localities get rid of their garbage. So when people type, often, and I first noticed this when my first wife was a graduate student in philosophy and got into Jewish philosophy and was writing a lot of papers about God. And so she would type G/D, because otherwise, writing out God, that was her custom of, wouldn't want to destroy a piece of paper that had God's name on it. Another thing is, like, people are even careful about saying God's name. So they won't say God, they'll say Hashem, which just means the name. It's kind of a stand-in for the name. And so this is a common Jewish practice. You'll see people writing God with G-D, or some people who are very spiritually intensive will write G!! My favorite personally is G#D, for the social media people out there. So some people do this. It's a common Jewish custom. My personal feeling is that the word God with an O in it is so far removed from God's name in traditional sources. It is an English word derived from a German word that has no analog in Hebrew. And so just writing, and this is just my practice, and I follow kind of the rubric of Rabbi Elliot Dorff, who I trust as a theologian and philosopher and rabbi and halachic scholar. If it's good enough for Elliot Dorff to write G-O-D, it's good enough for me. And the word God is so far removed from God's actual name that it's not a desecration to spell that out. That's my practice. Some people are not comfortable with that. Some people would rather show reverence for God. It's also kind of a bit of a tribal marker as well, because only Jews do this, and so some people, out of solidarity with other Jews, write God like other Jews write God. So it's a thing that people do, and so if you want to do that too, if you want to adopt a very common practice of the Jewish people and write God G/D, go right ahead. I personally don't do it, and I just explain why, and I hope people are not made too uncomfortable by that. But you do you, is my philosophy. Let's see. KG Wilcox says Ellie Dorff and Joseph Soloveitchik, who was sort of the spiritual patriarch of the Orthodox Yeshiva University for a long time. I've heard an odd word for God that we are not, that we are, I just missed this. I heard an odd word for God that we are not to say. Could you explain, please? Well, I don't know what word you're referring to. There are lots of different words. One of the words is Adonai. And some people won't say Adonai out loud except in the context of prayer. I will say things out loud that other people won't say just because I'm a teacher and I want to teach people what these words mean. Adonai is simply a Hebrew word that means my Lord, right? Like Adon is like Mr., or Adoni is like sir. If you're going to a nice restaurant in Israel and says, "Hey, sir, would you like to sit in the non-smoking section?" Because they still have smoking sections in Israel. Somebody will say Adoni is like sir. Adonai means my Lord, and so there is one of the ways that God's name is written in the Torah is with the letters Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, all strung together. And that is an unpronounceable word. That's sort of a just script form of the referring to God, but nobody knows how that word is pronounced. Later German translators and transliterators tried to spell that out in English phonetically and came up with silly words like Yahweh and Jehovah. And Jehovah is an Anglicization of Yehovah, which is a German word, because Germans don't have a J sound. But when we read that word, we don't try to pronounce it like that. We say Adonai in its place. So we say Lord or my Lord for God. And some people are uncomfortable saying, like, I'm teaching it so that you'll understand what it means. Some people, just in normal conversation, are uncomfortable, and they'll say something like Adoshem, which is just a way to, like, the further distance you can get from saying God's name, the more reverence they believe you're showing for it, and that's a common practice, not one I follow necessarily. Let's see. Kiji Wilcox says, how does one connect with, for lack of a better term, a spiritual sponsor? If you're not yet local, would like to speak with on the phone. So I think I tried to answer that question. I don't know if I did a good job. If you want to connect with a spiritual sponsor, you're not local to speak with on the phone, reach out to rabbis that you learn with online. Reach out to me. I don't know if I can do a phone call, but reach out to me on Facebook or something like that, and maybe I can answer some questions you have. The name is only to be said in prayer and vowels, I think. Let's see. Writing God that way seems to be something of a modern invention. Haven't seen it in old scholarly works, rabbinic and otherwise. Yeah, that could come with what Rabbi Dorff calls the faux authenticity of neo-Frumkeit, as Orthodoxy trended into Haredeism in the 20th century, which is when Haredi Judaism was invented. People took on to the philosophy that stricter is always better, and the more strict you can be about your practice of Judaism, it made you more Jewish, which is a traditional fundamentalist move. But look, I don't judge how other people do their religion. I only judge how they tell me about how to do my religion. So that I'm totally cool with judging. Let's see. I'm trying to get into the Lake Kingdom here. I'm going to dive, dive, dive. I see a flag down here. Our secret little room. Okay. There's a shop up there. Let's see. Is Kadesi spot on? Yeah. How do you get up there? Same way you go anywhere in the water. Swim! Alright. We're going to see if I can find the boss battle around here. Or we may just call it a day. We've been going for about 2 hours now, and I've got a couple of appointments today, so I might have to stop soon. But if, you know, I just want to say how grateful I am. Let me write down another thing we talked about, that G/D thing. And this time I am writing it G/D, or G-D. Just really grateful for everybody who's been here today, everybody learning with me, people learning from each other. I want to acknowledge, I don't want to like call out or embarrass anybody. I want to acknowledge a really beautiful moment where somebody shared something difficult, and I saw everybody in the chat jump in to give their support, share their stories, share, you know, their arms and their shoulders and their good wishes. So thank you for that. Kay Dixie saying, if any of you are new, can you become a follower? You can become a follower free and receive notifications for future podcasts. Yeah, that's something you can do. Up above the video, there's a little like picture of a heart. I think it's a purple button most times. Just click on that. You'll get notified anytime we're live. Typically Mondays and Fridays in the morning. Settling on 9:30 is a good time because I get the kids off to school, get my own stuff done, and then jump on here. So feel free to follow this channel. You get notified anytime we're on. Other things you could do, you could throw some bits up into the chat. Haven't seen any bits today. That's okay. I haven't done anything that cool. You can throw some bits up into the chat. That lets us know that we're on the right track. Helps us continue to invest in this channel, get some better sound systems and chat followers. You can also subscribe, and that will make your viewing ad free. So if you subscribe to this channel on Twitch and you come to one of these videos, you won't see any ads on any of my videos. So just some things you could do. You're also welcome here if you don't spend a dime. So I'm happy to learn with anybody in any circumstances, and everybody's welcome here. So thanks for being here, everybody. Let's see. Elvis says, hope to see you again. Sometimes he has a podcast on Mondays. Yeah, we're doing this pretty regularly Monday. I've got like, not this Monday, next Monday I might have to cancel it just because my kids have a dentist appointment. But so the next time I'll be on here Monday morning, whatever 3 days from now, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Eastern, and no video games. We'll just be having a straight up Ask Me Anything session. I don't recall Mario going to sleep before. Maybe I was less talky when I was playing it. So thank you everybody for being here today. We're going to play for a little bit longer and then wrap it up. If anybody has some last minute questions you want to throw in, happy to hear. I miss our beautiful Lock Lady dress. Come at a troubling time. Monitor display window. This lady has something important to say. Oh, there's the dress that's missing. Shabbat shalom to you all. KG Wilcox. He says, whose coinage is that again? No offense. Sorry, I missed that. So Ms. Bob Ross says, sorry for all the typos, folks. Have to proofread more. No worries. So, no, everybody's friends here. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. Going to play for about a few more minutes just to make it an even 2 hours. Pretty soon, I'm thinking I'm going 3 days a week on Twitch. Right now I do it 2 days a week. But for the next level of, let's say, twitchiness, there's something called partner. Now we're what's called a Twitch affiliate, which means that we got 75 followers. We have enough juice here on Twitch that Twitch knows we're serious. That enables these things like bits and subscriptions and all sorts of cool stuff. there's a next level where we become a Twitch partner, and that means that any ad that you watch on this channel benefits the community. Like, you don't pay a dime, but any ad you watch on this channel benefits this community. It's not just random Twitch ads. It's like you watch ads and it helps this channel grow. So to get there, I need to go 3 days a week, is what I've figured out. And so pretty soon, I'm going to do it on Thursday nights. Not just yet. I have to figure out when I have my Thursday nights free. But coming up soon, we're going to keep Mondays and Fridays. Love that schedule. But we're going to do a night show on Thursday nights at 8:30 Pacific time. So stay tuned for that. Avella says, like a monetized YouTube channel. Yep. And we just recently had our YouTube channel monetized as well, which is nice. I think I made like $11, which is cool after being on YouTube, making over 250 videos over the course of 4 years on that channel. We've now made $12. So, but I'm not kicking out of bed. I think it's a great thing. Oh, Kay Dixie says, Rabbi Mrs. Bob wants to know about a link for prayers. Let me say, do you have a link for prayers for beginners? One thing, and I'm going to just, because you're so good at this, Kay Dixie, if you could find a link and post it here, the link for Siddur Audio is how I started. Now, there's a couple of different things that I'll recommend. Great online resources. One is Siddur Audio. It's SIDDUR space audio. If you Google that, you'll find Siddur Audio. That goes through the conservative prayer book, just because that's what I was using. Another really great resources, and this is even bigger, but it might be so big it's like overwhelming. But it is Hadar's the Hadar Institute. I think they just go by Hadar now. Has a site where it goes through all the different prayer services. You can pick which Siddur you're using sometimes, and it'll tell you the page number on that Siddur, and then it has audio files for everything. So Siddur Audio is SIDDUR space audio. Google that, and you'll find what I'm talking about. It's got audio files, plus you can see the prayer and listen to a guy singing them. Hadar is HADAR. And just go to Hadar, HADAR.org, and there's a link on the top there that will take you to hearing prayers, and it goes through a bunch of different services. People sing those for you while you can take a look at the text. It'll maybe key to the page number of the Siddur that you're using, if the Siddur that you're using is listed there. But just a fantastic resource. Like anything that I can't find in Siddur Audio, I go to Hadar. Or if I'm just looking for a new tune for something, I go to Hadar, and then they have audio files of so many of the prayers there. It's an incredible resource that's only come out in the last couple of years. So that's what I recommend. Mrs. Bob Ross, looking for prayers for beginners, is Siddur Audio or the Hadar Institute's website. I think we found out where the Loch Lady dress was. Okay, so she's just let's see. I should dress for the occasion. So this is just like why I'm wearing a poncho and a sombrero, is I had to get into a locked room. Here, if I wear the garb of this kingdom, I can get into this. Okay, great. Thank you, Kay Dixie has given us the Siddur Audio link and also the link to Hadar for Tefillah. Tefillah means prayer. So prayer music, you can, it has all sorts of tunes, but also like spells out the Hebrew for you there. Okay, so what else can I do here? Not a mucho. This looks interesting. Must be a top hat, must be a fancy club. Alright, looks like it's cold in here. Okay, got a few of these guys. Hey, Hey, Nayashashi, how you doing? Says, oh, you're still here. Sorry about that. Oh no, capture card. Oh, my capture card didn't fail. When you say capture card, I'm thinking my Twitch capture card. Oh. Let's see. Wow. Thank you very much, Rabbi and K. Dixie. Oh, you're still here. Nayashashi, welcome. Glad to have you here. Just doing a little pre-Shabbat fun Friday. Okay. Da, 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 da. Yeah, da, 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 da. Itch on my nose there. There was a scratch, not a pick. Shabbat begins at sundown, right? Yes, Alvella. That is also true. Okay. Stay on the path, stay on the path. Don't get hasty, Mario. And actually, what game is this? This is Super Mario Odyssey. That would be a nice, fun, family-friendly game. I beat Splatoon 2. Whoop, 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 whoop. Do, 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 do. Key looks handy. Okay, that's cool. Okay, this is not going well for me. I'm gonna just get rid of all these guys. Ah! Okay, I got the key. That means I get a power moon. Super Mario Odyssey. Oh, hey, look, there's a bunch of gold back here. Help me get some cool Mario threads. I think I'm going to get this power moon and call it a day. Whoop, whoop. Woo! Do 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 do. Whoa, that was close. Alrighty. Da 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 da. Power moon. So really glad to learn with all sorts of, let's see, how do I get out of here? Really glad to learn with all sorts of cool people today. Got some new folks. Elvella is here. Some other, the girl named Sig, I think. I don't know if you were here before, but great people to learn with. And some of our old friends of, not old friends, I don't know how old you are. Friends of long standing. I barely know how old I am. But so old friends, new friends, lots of friends, and a really wonderful learning community and a supportive, caring Jewish community here as well. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Let's see. Oh, got another question here right at the end. If one has a grandfather's family that was Jewish, does it help if one wants to convert? Legally, no, in the sense that Jewish identity, for the most part, traditionally goes through the matrilineal line. In some Reform communities, they'll say if you have if you're not your grandfather, but your father was Jewish and you were raised Jewish, then that works too. It doesn't hurt. You know, I know lots of people who had or have met, like, don't know them that well, but like have met in the Beit Din, lots of people who had a Jewish grandparent, and that doesn't make them Jewish necessarily, but it inspired them, and that helps. Inspiration always helps. It doesn't like make your case better. I'll say, like you don't need a Jewish grandparent to convert, but well, except the law of return in Israel. If you have a Jewish grandparent, that can help immigration to Israel. It doesn't necessarily help your conversion. Doesn't hurt your conversion either. But I know a lot of people are inspired by having Jewish roots in their family and want to reconnect to that. So if that's what motivates you to get through the learning, then I would think that's helpful as well. Yeah, paternal grandfather, certainly. The process is the same, but if that motivates you and inspires you to continue learning, that's a great thing. And with that, I think I'm going to say, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been here today. Just before I shut it down completely, let's see. Before I shut it down completely, I want to go check the Facebook, see if we have any commentary here. I got 6 comments over on Facebook. Let's see if there are any questions. Oh, but they could hear me double. Oh, it's good to see Melissa chimes in. Melissa says, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Are you still doing your podcast? The answer is yes. I really want to do my podcast. Like, I haven't done an episode of the Jew Curious show audio only for a while, but it's in the works. I've got some interviews that I want to put out, and it's just been kind of crazy to find that audio editing time. Let's see. Brandy's here. Hi, Melissa. I'm curious about the podcast too. That's how I found the Jew Curious community. I miss the podcast. Like, I miss putting the podcast out. I do. And a lot of people who are watching this right now, we connected through the podcast. And I haven't put one out in months. I've got interviews with 3 great teachers that I've recorded, and I'm probably annoying them because I haven't shared their voices yet. So I do hope the podcast is coming out again very soon. It's just been, I started I'm not making excuses. I did start a new job recently where I'm a part-time rabbi at a synagogue in addition to this stuff, in addition to teaching at the Jew Curious school. So, but I don't want to neglect my podcast peeps. And I know podcast is a big way that I learn stuff. So I want to get that back. Just hang on a little bit longer because I've been thinking about that actively. Getzel Davis, do you have the most awesome rabbinate ever? It feels that way to me. I'm not knocking anybody else's rabbinate, but it feels like the most awesome way to be a rabbi that I know of. So I'm going to say the answer is yes. Just personally speaking. And Kay Dixie outed me, says Rabbi's writing another book. That's true too, y'all. That book sort of wrote itself, but so many projects. I need to focus. Let's see. Getzel Rosenberg is another fine rabbi. I think he's at the Harvard Hillel, if I'm not mistaken. I know him through Rabbis Without Borders. Good dude, and a great rabbi. Let's go over to YouTube and see what's up. Got one person watching. That person might be me, but I wanted to see if there's any comments here on YouTube. Live chat. Niente. Nobody said anything to me on YouTube today, but that's okay. I kind of want to direct people to Twitch if I can. So with that, there is, I was going to tell you something earlier. Last thing I want to talk about, last night my wife and I went out. It was our anniversary recently, not last night, but recently. And we do this thing every year where we go out for our anniversary and we do kind of a goal setting exercise. And this sounds kind of sterile. It sounds kind of like, what management consultants do or something on their anniversary. But a couple of years ago, I tried this thing and it just really worked. And now we've been doing it, I think, like 4 years in a row, where we sit down, and I actually stole this from Tony Robbins. Some people are fans, some people are not, but I got this out of one of his books. And it was this great exercise of sitting down and brainstorming on all of your goals in like various areas of your life. How you want to develop yourself personally. What do you want to learn? How you want your career or your professional impact to be. What kind of adventures would you like to have? What kind of toys would you like to own, right? And then another is, how do you want to contribute to the world? And we sat down, and each of us took turn, like we, at the same time, like put the timer on, 5 minutes, brainstorm one topic, and then we picked out of all of these things, from each of these 4 areas, we picked what we want to accomplish in the coming year. And so each of us has a list of 4 things that we want to accomplish in the coming year. And first off, I'll just say that's a fantastic. If you're with somebody, committed to somebody, it's a great exercise to sit down and like brainstorm and share your biggest goals for your whole life. And sometimes we just take the person that we're with for granted, and we may think we know what they want in life, but until we ask them, until we make them, and sometimes we don't even know what we want in life. But if you go through this exercise and you really just get everything out there and then prioritize and say, you know what, this is what I want to dedicate the next year to, and then share that with somebody who maybe didn't know that about you. And we've been married a long time now, over 10 years, I'll say. And so, but every year we learn new things about each other, which is hard when you've been married for over 10 years to learn new things about each other. And so we each came up with 4 goals for the coming year, and I won't share hers. Those are hers. So that's her business. I'll share 3 out of my 4. I'll tell you why in a second. My personal development goals this year, I want to run an ultra marathon. That is, run a marathon that is longer than 26.2 miles. It can be 26.3 miles, and it qualifies for an ultra marathon. So that's one goal. I've got a couple of marathons scheduled for this year, but I want to run something that's longer because I'm a glutton for punishment and I have a terrible hobby, and it's called marathon running. I want to continue to grow the Jew Curious School. It's far exceeded my expectations so far, but I want to continue to grow that with getting more people in the community, getting more people sharing Torah with each other, and getting more people supporting each other like we do. My 3rd goal is I want to take an accelerated freefall course. That is a particular course in skydiving. I've never jumped out of an airplane before. That's why you can see me right now. But my wife and I, when we first met, the night we met, we talked about skydiving, and we've never done it. And recently we were like, we got to do this. We finally got to do this. And so that's one of my goals for the year, is not to just go skydiving once, but to like take a course that qualifies me to go skydiving independently if I decide that's something I want to do. But I want to take a skydiving class. And the 4th one's a secret. And the 4th one, I don't know if I've shared about it. I've been kind of mum on this channel about it. I want to leave you in suspense. The 4th one is actually a big change that's related to my work as a rabbi. It's a different kind of rabbinate that I want to explore, and I don't want to tell you about it because I don't want to jinx it. I trust all of you, but I don't trust myself. I've got to see this thing through, and once it becomes real, I'll tell you all about it. It's something I'm really, really excited about. It was actually something that I thought my wife was going to hate, and she's like, nope, go do that. And it's just like when I became a rabbi. When I first told her I wanted to be a rabbi, I was like, she's going to hate this. But it's all I can think about. If I don't talk about it, she's going to think I'm weird. So I told her I wanted to be a rabbi, and I didn't think she was going to go for it. But she's like, that sounds like you. Go for it. And she's been behind me ever since in this 10-plus year journey. And so this is another thing that I'm working on doing. It's gonna take some significant work on my part to get there. And if it works out, I'll tell you all about it. If it doesn't work out, I'll probably still tell you all about it. But I'm not ready to talk about it just yet. So it says, we won't lose you. I hope not. I don't think you'll lose me. In fact, I'll have even more entertaining stuff to talk about at that point, I'm pretty sure. So in any case, it's been fantastic. And I just wanted to share that because that's an important thing that happened to me last night. We went out, and this isn't strictly a rabbinic thing to say, but just me, John, sharing something with you. If you've got a significant other in your life, especially if you've been with them for a long time, 5 years plus, figure out a way to like just sit down, nice meal, maybe a glass of wine if that's your thing, and just brainstorm the biggest, craziest dreams you've ever had, and listen to the other person as they brainstorm their biggest, craziest dreams. And you will get to know each other so much, and you might have a new project for the year that the other person is going to keep you accountable for, but also help you along the way. So that's my advice. Don't give a lot of relationship advice on this channel, but that's what I wanted to throw in. So that was a very nice thing to say, Mrs. Bob Ross. Yeah, I hope you won't lose me. I can't stay off the internet. I've tried. So, in any case, it's been my great honor to learn with you, heroes. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for bringing your incredible questions and your incredible kindness today. I couldn't do this teaching if I didn't have you great students, curious people just like you. And next time we'll be here is 9:30 a.m. Pacific time on Monday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's whatever number next Monday is. I think it's the 19th. Until then, heroes, peace.